Hello, today we're going to learn about area. Area is the amount of space an object takes up. Now in this first problem, you are given a rectangle. And in fact, in fourth grade, you are going to be focusing on rectangles and squares and finding the area of these objects. So in this rectangle here, we see that there's many squares. In fact, each of these squares are exactly the same size, and together they're put together to form this rectangle. We want to determine what the area is of this rectangle. Now there's two ways you can do this. In this first one, we can simply count how many squares we see that create this rectangle. So if I was to count these squares, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So yes, my area here, and you can even say A equals 12 square units. So I'll spell square for you, square units. Now, in this rectangle here, we were able to count the squares. You can't always count the squares, especially when we have a really large length and a really large width. So another strategy that you can do is count the squares here or look at the given length. So I'm going to first look at the longest side I see, and that represents my length. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to just label this 4 units. And my width, I'm going to count in the other direction. Now I'm calling this units because each of these squares is 1 square unit. Now my width has 1, 2, 3. So the width is 3 units. Now when I multiply these two numbers together, my length times my width, I have 4 times 3, which is also the same as 12, and that's what I got by counting as well. So when you're given a picture like this, you're more than welcome to count the squares that take up the entire rectangle. Or you can choose to find the length and the width and simply multiply. So 4 times 3 is also 12 square units as well. They are both correct, and they are both correct ways of finding the answer to the problem. But as a reminder, area is length times your width. Now for this next one, they didn't break it up into squares. Yes, that's always an option, especially if you have low numbers. So like here's 3 feet. So if I wanted to break this rectangle into pieces, I absolutely can, ultimately creating a multiplication array. And now we have 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 boxes here representing my length, and my width has 1, 2, 3. But again, you're not always going to do that. So you can also look and see that the given length is 6, and I even like writing L equals 6 feet. Now I did a cursive L because if I just do an L like this, that also looks like the number 1. And it's really, really easy to write an L like this. And I might think, okay, that's a 1, but I meant to say the letter L. So that's why I like to represent length with a cursive L. And then I also have my width equals 3 feet. Now notice I'm defining what these variables or these missing pieces are actually really given to us, but we're defining what is given. So here we have our length and we have our width. So here we have 6 times 3, which to give me my area, I can even rewrite A stands for area equals my length times my width. Now, area equals my length is 6 and my width is 3. So now here my area would simply be 6 times 3, which is 18. Now instead of saying square units, we're going to say square, and you might see SQ like this, and feet. And the square represents that we have the area. Where are we getting that square from? Because we're multiplying two things. So length times width, and that creates that square because we're multiplying two pieces of information together. Now that's giving me that square. Now, again, my answer would be 18 square feet. I can also check that that's correct by going back into my picture and now counting the squares. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And again, that was the same answer that was given. Now today you're going to see some problems where you're given a rectangle and the numbers are really large. So you're going to need to rewrite on the side and make sure you're doing your multiplication. Here we have a length of 10 and a width of 8. Now, just like the previous problems, when we're finding the area, we have our length times our width. Now, what's great here is they already identified exactly what the length is and exactly what the width is. So all I need to do is actually simply multiply these numbers. Now, this is an example. We're drawing 10 square units in one direction, 8 in another. I'm going to create 80 boxes. I might not want to draw 80 boxes creating this rectangle, which is where I can use my area formula, 10 times 8. And 10 times 8 is 80 square feet. Now it's really important that you put the labels at the end as well, because if I'm given a rectangle that's in feet and then maybe my friend is given a rectangle that's in inches, they both have very different sizes. So if I said 80 square feet is much different than 80 square inches, because if you were to look at a ruler right now, a ruler is 1 foot. That's created by 12 inches. So inches are much, much smaller than feet. So if I said I had 80 square inches, that means it's a much smaller figure than saying I have 80 square feet. That's a really, really big figure that I have. Now, whenever you're given a square or a rectangle, you can simply follow this formula, area equals length times width, and that is all you need to do to find the area of a square or a rectangle.